Cleveland is shaken tonight. Veteran insider Kay Cabot just dropped a shocking truth about Shedeur Sanders after that viral locker room incident. While critics piled on, Cabot revealed what really went down. And her take has fans calling out the entire Browns organization. This isn't the story the media wanted you to hear.
You know what? I think that, I really actually think that Shedeur, in his own way, was trying not to steal the show for Dylan Gabriel yesterday. I think by him not saying anything, he was trying not to create the next headline. He knows that he's a content machine. He knows exactly the power of his words, and I think he was trying not to do that. And it didn't work out that way, but I don't think he had any ill intent. I don't think he was trying to say, hey, look at me, this is all about me today.
I just think it's time for the Browns to tell him, hey, listen.
Kay Cabot just dropped a bomb about Shedeur Sanders that nobody saw coming. While the entire sports world is ripping apart the third-string rookie for that viral locker room incident, one of Cleveland's most respected insiders is saying something completely different. And it's making people uncomfortable. She's not just defending him. She's exposing the real reason why 31 teams passed on the most famous quarterback prospect in recent memory. And when you hear what she said about Shedeur's actual intentions during Dylan Gabriel's moment, it flips the entire narrative upside down. This isn't about ego. This isn't about entitlement. According to Kay, this is about something way deeper. And the Browns might have a serious problem on their hands if they don't handle this kid the right way.
And media's coming in, go find somewhere to hang out for 45 minutes, and then you can come in. Players hide on us all the time.
Go to the Johnny Manziel closet.
Yeah, right. How often is Miles ever in the locker room until Fridays when he talks? You never see Miles in the locker room when media is there, and he's not the only one.
You have to understand something about Shedeur. He grew up in the spotlight, Dylan, and off we all go.
Can we agree this is why 31 teams passed on him at least 5 times, because they don't want this nonsense and mess in their locker room over the third-string quarterback?
You know what? That may have been part of it for some teams. I think the other part of it for some teams was the fact that, things that we have even heard Andrew Berry say now, is the fact that he went from a sort of, English class to Mandarin in terms of what he was going to have to learn as far as calling the play in the huddle, sliding the protections, and doing all of those things that you had to do pre-snap. He didn't show up in the NFL as ready to do those things as some other people, including Dylan Gabriel, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
Kay Cabot.
So let's set the scene here. Dylan Gabriel just got named the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Big moment, right? The guy's about to step into the spotlight after Joe Flacco couldn't stop turning the ball over. Media rushes into the locker room. Cameras everywhere. Microphones ready. Everyone wants to hear from the new guy. And then there's Shedeur Sanders, just sitting there, headphones on, not saying a word, not moving, not hiding. The internet exploded.
For him, they're going to try to exploit his height. They're going to try to exploit the tackle situation. I think it's going to be a shorter, zippier, snappier offense that you're going to see. I think you'll see some RPOs and some movement, more bootlegs, rollouts, anything that has to do with some quarterback movement. Get that pocket moving and get things a little bit less predictable than they were.
Obviously, you want to make life easier on a rookie with steady offensive line play. Who is going to be playing right tackle, which is going to be pretty important this week, considering the lefty, and who's going to be playing left tackle?
Well, we're heading over to practice now, so I'll have a better idea on that later today, although we don't get to watch very much practice. But hopefully for Dylan Gabriel that Jack Conklin will be back, because you really would want Jack to be protecting your blind side over there as the right tackle. So hopefully for Dylan that will happen. Don't know, can't say for sure yet. But
ESPN ran a 10-minute segment on it. Scott Van Pelt covered it on his show. Twitter went absolutely nuclear. People calling him disrespectful, entitled, a distraction. Some even said this is exactly why he fell to the third round. The takes were brutal. He's stealing Dylan's moment. He thinks he's too good to answer questions. This is the Dion effect. All ego, No respect for the team, but here's where it gets interesting. Kay Cabot, one of the most plugged-in reporters covering this Browns team, she went on the radio from London, where the team's about to play the Vikings, and she said something that stopped everyone in their tracks. She defended him, not just a little, "Oh, he's young, he'll learn" type of defense. No, she went hard. She said Shedeur wasn't trying to steal the show at all. In fact, she thinks he was doing the opposite. He was trying not to create headlines. He was trying not to make it about himself. Think about that for a second. The kid grows up with cameras in his face his entire life. His dad is Dylan Sanders, primetime himself. They've live-streamed their whole existence. Everything is content. Everything is a story. Shedeur knows how the game works. He knows that if he opens his mouth, if he says anything, literally anything, it becomes the story. Not Dylan Gabriel, not the new starting quarterback. Him. So, what does he do? He stays quiet, headphones on, trying to fade into the background, and it backfired spectacularly. Tanartuntriyu. Kay even pointed out that Dayon commented on the whole situation on Instagram with 10 laughing emojis. 10. That's not a dad who's embarrassed or upset. That's a dad who sees the absurdity of the whole thing. They're used to this. They're used to being under the microscope 24/7. And honestly, they probably find it hilarious that Shedeur literally did nothing and still became the story. But here's the part that's really got people talking. Dindy, and this is where Mary Kay's insider perspective gets spicy. Chais made it clear, from a journalistic standpoint, she wants access to all the players. She doesn't think the Browns should tell Shedeur to go hide. She's a big advocate for transparency. But she also understands the position he's in. This isn't some random third-string quarterback. This is the son of an NFL legend. This is a guy who had Heisman conversations. This is someone who was supposed to go way higher in the draft. And that's the elephant in the room, isn't it? The Browns took him in the 3rd round. 31 teams passed on him at least 5 times. 5 times. For a quarterback with his pedigree, his stats, his arm talent, that's wild. And everyone knows it. The questions started immediately. Why did he fall? What do teams know that we don't? Is it the family drama? Is it the media circus? The radio hosts asked Mary Kay point blank, "Can we agree this is why 31 teams passed on him? Because they don't want this nonsense and mess in their locker room over the 3rd-string quarterback?" And here's where Mary Kay got real. She admitted that, yeah, for some teams, the media attention was probably part of it. The circus, the cameras, the fact that Dayon's going to comment on everything, the fact that Shedeur's girlfriend is going to be at games, the fact that every single move he makes becomes a story. But she said there's more to it. She brought up something Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, has talked about. Shedeur came from Colorado, prime system, and when you go from that to the NFL, it's like going from English class to Mandarin. Those were her exact words. Calling plays in the huddle, sliding protections, reading defenses pre-snap, all the technical stuff that NFL quarterbacks have to do. Shedeur wasn't as ready for that as guys like Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel started 63 games in college. 63. That's insane experience. He's seen everything. He's poised. He's confident. He knows how to handle pressure. Shedeur, different story. Talented? Absolutely. NFL ready from a technical standpoint? Not quite there yet. And look, this is where I gotta say something because I know the Shedeur fans are fired up right now, and rightfully so, because here's the thing everybody's missing in all this drama. The kid is being smart. Think about it. He's the 3rd-string quarterback. He's not playing this week. He's not playing anytime soon unless something catastrophic happens. So what's he supposed to do when the media comes in to talk to Dylan Gabriel? Jump in front of the cameras? Make it about himself? Say something that gets twisted into a headline? He did the mature thing. He stayed out of the way. But because of who he is, because of his last name, because of his dad, because of the way he was hyped coming out of college, people can't just let him be a normal third-string quarterback. He's held to a different standard, and that's not fair. Mary Kay even said it herself. Players hide from the media all the time. Myles Garrett? You basically never see him in the locker room except on Fridays when he has to talk. Nobody cares. Nobody writes 10 articles about it. Nobody calls him disrespectful. But Shedeur sits there with headphones on? End of the world. And let's be real about the Dylan Gabriel situation, too. The Browns didn't want to start him this early. Mary Kay made that crystal clear. They hoped Joe Flacco could hold it down for half the season or longer. But Flacco kept turning the ball over. 3 interceptions against Detroit. Getting blown out. Looking completely lost out there. So they had to make a change, and now Dylan Gabriel, a rookie, remember, has to step into a pressure cooker. He's going to London to face Brian Flores' defense. Flores is a savage defensive coordinator. He's going to try to exploit Dylan's height. He's going to bring pressure. He's going to try to confuse the kid. Mary Kay thinks Dylan will be fine. She pointed out that he's experienced, he's poised, he's confident. The Browns are going to simplify things for him. RPOs, bootlegs, rollouts. Get the pocket moving. Make it easier on him. But there are still going to be growing pains. The offensive line is a mess. Jack Conklin might not be back. They're shuffling tackles around. The receivers haven't developed chemistry with any of the quarterbacks because they went through a 4-way competition in camp. This offense is a disaster right now, and you know who's watching all of this from the sideline? Shedeur Sanders. He sees it. He knows it. And he knows that eventually, whether it's this year or next year, he's going to get his shot. Because talent doesn't stay hidden forever. And whatever you want to say about his readiness, about the media circus, about his draft position, the kid can play. So when he sat there in that locker room with his headphones on, maybe he wasn't being disrespectful. Maybe he was just being patient. Maybe he was thinking, this isn't my moment yet, but it will be. And that's what has people scared. Because if Shedeur Sanders ever gets his chance and proves everybody wrong, if he balls out and shows that he was worth a first-round pick, if he becomes the franchise quarterback everyone thought he could be, all 31 teams that passed on him are going to look stupid. All the talking heads who killed him for the locker room thing are going to look stupid. And all the narratives about him being a distraction, about him being entitled, about him being just a product of his dad's hype, they all fall apart. Mary Kay Cabot sees it. She's been around this league long enough to know how these stories go. She knows that quiet confidence when she sees it. And she's telling anyone who will listen, Shedeur Sanders isn't the problem here. The problem is everyone else, projecting their own biases onto a 22-year-old kid who's just trying to learn and grow in the NFL. But the story doesn't end there. Not even close. Because there's something bigger going on here that Mary Kay hinted at. Something about why Shedeur really fell in the draft. Why the Browns might actually be the perfect place for him. And what happens next if Dylan Gabriel struggles? Drop a comment right now. Team Shedeur or Team Dylan? Who do you think should be starting for the Browns? Let me know below. Think should be starting for the Browns. Let me know below. Now, here's where things get really interesting. And this is the part nobody's talking about in all the locker room drama. The Cleveland Browns are in a uniquely weird position right now, and Shedeur Sanders is sitting right in the middle of it. Think about the roster for a second. This is the oldest team in the NFL. Mary Kay confirmed it. They're ancient by NFL standards. Veterans everywhere. Guys who've been around the block. Guys who've seen it all. And they just benched a 40-year-old quarterback who they thought could lead them to a championship. So what does that mean for team chemistry? What does that mean for the locker room when you're going from a guy who's been in the league longer than some of these players have been alive to a rookie who hasn't taken a single meaningful NFL snap. The radio hosts asked Mary Kay straight up, "How do the veterans feel about going to a rookie, especially a third-round draft pick this early?" And here's what's fascinating. She said they weren't done with Joe Flacco. Not at all. After the Detroit disaster, she talked to Joel Bitonio, one of the veteran leaders, and he said, "We still believe in him." They weren't quitting on Joe. They understood the offense was a mess. New blocking schemes, four-way quarterback competition that killed any chance of developing chemistry, tackle problems. The whole thing was dysfunctional from the start, but the organization couldn't wait anymore. The defense is too good. They have championship-caliber talent on that side of the ball, and they're watching the offense turn the ball over 3 times a game, getting blown out, making them look bad. Something had to change, so they pulled the trigger on Dylan Gabriel. And now the clock is ticking, because if Dylan struggles, if he looks overwhelmed against Minnesota, if the offense still can't function, guess who's next in line? And this is where the Shedeur Sanders story gets spicy. Mary Kay said something that I think a lot of people missed in all the locker room noise. She said there was a chance, a real chance, that the Browns could have made Shedeur the backup quarterback over Bailey Zappi. That's why reporters were asking him questions in the first place. It wasn't just random. It was legitimate. The Browns clearly see something in him. Otherwise, why draft him in the 3rd round? Why keep him on the roster when you could stash him on the practice squad? Why have him in that locker room during Dylan Gabriel's big moment? They see the potential. They know what he could become. But they also know he's not ready yet. And that's the key word. Yet. Andrew Barry's assessment was clear. Shedeur needs time to learn the NFL game. The technical stuff, the pre-snap reads, the protection calls, all the things that don't show up on highlight reels, but separate good college quarterbacks from NFL starters. And you know what? That's actually a good thing for Shedeur, because he gets to sit, he gets to watch, he gets to learn from Dylan Gabriel's mistakes without the pressure of performing. He gets to study Brian Flores' defense this week. He gets to see how NFL coordinators attack rookie quarterbacks. He gets to understand the speed of the game without getting his confidence shattered. This is the best possible scenario for his development. But here's what has the haters big mad. Shedeur knows this. He knows he's not ready yet. He knows Dylan Gabriel is ahead of him right now, and he's cool with it. He's putting his head down and working. That locker room moment, that wasn't disrespect. That was a kid staying in his lane. And honestly, the Browns should be thanking him for not making it about himself. Imagine if he had grabbed the microphone and said something like, "Yeah, I'm happy for Dylan, but I'm ready to play too." The media would have turned that into a quarterback controversy instantly. They would have made it seem like there's tension, like Shedeur thinks he should be starting. Instead, he said nothing. And they still created a controversy. You can't win with these people sometimes. Mary Kay gets it, though. She's been covering this team long enough to understand the dynamics. She knows that Shedeur comes from a different world. He grew up in the spotlight. His dad taught him how to handle media, how to control narratives, how to protect himself, and sometimes protecting yourself means staying quiet. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Deion factor. A lot of teams were scared to draft Shedeur because they didn't want to deal with Deion. They didn't want the dad calling plays. They didn't want the media circus. They didn't want primetime showing up at practice and making everything about him. But here's what's interesting about Cleveland. They don't care. This organization just went through the Deshaun Watson saga. They gave a fully guaranteed $230 million contract to a guy who hadn't played in over a year and had 24 civil lawsuits against him. You think they're scared of Dylan Sanders posting on Instagram? Please, if anything, the Browns like the attention Shedeur brings. They're in Cleveland. They're not exactly a glamorous destination. Having a Sanders on the roster generates buzz. It keeps them relevant. It gives fans something to talk about during a season that's been mostly miserable. And Dion? He's actually been quiet about the whole thing. 10 laughing emojis on Instagram. That's it. He's not demanding playing time. He's not trashing the coaching staff. He's not causing problems. He's letting his son develop, which is exactly what should be happening. So where does this leave us? Dylan Gabriel is starting against Minnesota in London. The Browns are hoping he can stabilize the offense and give them a chance to compete. The defense is good enough to keep them in games. If Dylan can just not turn the ball over and move the chains, they might surprise people. But if he struggles, if the offense looks just as bad as it did with Joe Flacco, if they come back from London with another loss and no answers, the Shedeur Sanders conversation is going to get loud, because at some point, whether it's week 10, week 15, or next season, he's going to play. And when he does, all of this noise, all of this drama, all of these takes about him being entitled or disrespectful or not NFL ready, they're either going to look prophetic or absolutely foolish. And based on what Kay Cabot is saying, based on how the Browns are handling him, based on how he's carrying himself through all this chaos, I'm betting on foolish. Shedeur Sanders isn't the problem. He's not the distraction. He's not the circus. He's just a young quarterback trying to learn and earn his spot in the hardest league in the world. And the fact that everyone is so obsessed with him, even when he's literally just sitting there doing nothing, tells you everything you need to know about his potential. The kid's got IT. Whatever IT is, he's got it, and Cleveland might have just stolen the steal of the draft. So here's what I want to know from you. Was Shedeur wrong for sitting in that locker room with his headphones on? Or is everyone overreacting to nothing? Do you think he should have been more visible, more vocal, more supportive of Dylan Gabriel? Or was staying quiet the right move? And the big question, if Dylan Gabriel struggles against Minnesota, should the Browns give Shedeur a shot? Or is he still too raw? Because here's the reality. 31 teams passed on him. The Browns took a chance, and now we're all going to find out if they were right. Kay Cabot might be the only person in sports media right now who's actually being fair to Shedeur Sanders. While everyone else is piling on, she's looking at the bigger picture. She's seeing a kid who's self-aware enough to know when to speak and when to stay quiet. A kid who's learning. A kid who's got the talent but needs the time. A kid who's got the talent but needs the time. The locker room incident wasn't a scandal. It was a manufactured controversy. And the truth is way less exciting than the headlines, which is exactly why Shedeur stayed silent in the first place. He knew. He always knows. If you made it this far, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this Shedeur Sanders story is just getting started. When he finally gets his chance to play, you're going to want to be here for it. Drop a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.